Welcome to Nightmare County. I'm your host, Randall M. Gould, and I want to thank you for tuning in and watching this episode on Enter the Dragon. Previously, I said I was going to talk about the remake of Enter the Dragon, but in the end, this episode is really going to be about why they should not remake Enter the Dragon. For those of you who probably don't know, I'll give you a rundown of Enter the Dragon. Enter the Dragon is probably Bruce Lee's most famous film. His most polished and well-produced film due to the budget of and everything. But despite it being, it's even though I love Enter the Dragon, it's not my favorite Bruce Lee movie. I guess Fist of Fury, or AKA The Chinese Connection, is still without a doubt my favorite Bruce Lee film. Enter the Dragon is the most well-known, more likely, or the one film that brought everybody into the Bruce Lee fold and made them fans of his work and made them go and find his other films, TV series, and so on. But Enter the Dragon is just this monumental film in martial arts that spread Kung Fu and martial arts to the rest of the world even faster than what had happened before, in my opinion anyway, and a lot of other people's opinions as well. He's been, quoted as the grandfather of MMA, so on and so forth. Bruce Lee's influence in the world is immeasurable. And the fact that he was only around for a short amount of time in life is just another attribute to his charisma and to his body of work. But Enter the Dragon was released in 1973. It was directed by Robert Klaus, who had previously directed Bruce Lee in a TV episode of Ironside. Robert Klaus would also go on to direct other co-stars of the movie, like Jim Kelly in Black Belt Jones, and also Jackie Chan in The Big Brawl, or also known as Battle Creek Brawl. So Robert Klaus was he had a deft hand in what he was doing and everything. He had faith in Bruce Lee, obviously, from their previous work on Ironside, and I think that's one of the reasons why I think also that Enter the Dragon really works. The film also starred, as I mentioned before, Jim Kelly, Robert Saxon, Bob Wall, pretty much all. Bob Wall was a pretty good martial artist as well, as long as Jim Kelly, of course, and Shi-Ken, who was a phenomenal martial artist and just a veteran actor by this point, when he started as Han in Enter the Dragon. But Enter the Dragon was just one of these films. It's like lightning in a bottle, in my opinion. You already had Shaw Brothers and Golden Harvest already making these films and everything, but of course, you already had Bruce Lee making his other movies, and they're clicking with audiences already. He's becoming this bigger star. But Enter the Dragon just was that film, and it just worked on so many levels. It would influence generations to come with video games like Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, so on and so forth. You'd have people constantly trying to mimic Bruce Lee, his other bodies of work, including this film. But it's just funny how when you mention Bruce Lee, the first film they always bring up is going to be Enter the Dragon, and you can tell why. He had an awesome score by Schifrin. He did. I hope to God I said his name right. I always say his name wrong, and I constantly get corrected. But you had this great score that's just listenable, and I do go back and listen to it every once in a while. And like I said, it was just, even though this was basically a play on James Bond movies, mixed in with Kung Fu and everything, it worked. It just, there's a magic to it that cannot be denied. And it's just a highly influential film. And what I'm getting to is that every so often you hear people talk about how Enter the Dragon is fixing to be remade. They're going to, I think it's been going around since the 2000s. They've been talking about remaking Enter the Dragon, either with Kurt Sutter, Brett Ratner. Thank God that never happened. Spike Lee, and I think most recently it was the from one of the guys that did John Wick and Atomic Blonde, Deadpool, and everything. Um, and while I think that, especially the guys that did John Wick and everything, and Deadpool and everything, I don't want them remaking Enter the Dragon. I honestly think you cannot. Honestly, believe you cannot remake Enter the Dragon. The film without Bruce Lee would just be not memorable whatsoever. As much as I love John Saxon and Jim Kelly and Shikian and everything, it's just without Bruce Lee holding it together, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't be as big as a film. It'd be totally forgettable, and it'd just be one of those B movies that you probably wouldn't remember that got released throughout the 70s and everything. Bruce Lee is what makes that film memorable and what makes it work. Because just everything about it relies on Bruce Lee, in my opinion. And you got Bolo in it as well, who would go on to bigger stardom with Bloodsport and so on throughout the 80s. But without Bruce Lee, that's it. And I don't think anybody in the martial arts community can pull off what Bruce Lee had. That lightning in the bottle that he was. Him and then his son, Brandon Lee, would have. There's just something about Bruce Lee that you can't. And you know, I love Bruceploitation flicks. I love films that try to go back and talk about Bruce Lee's childhood or when he's making movies and stuff. And I really don't hate any of them. I really don't hate any of the Bruceploitation flicks because I know what they're trying to do. And even though they're not faithful of what Bruce Lee, his martial arts and his acting and everything, they still propelled his name into stardom, and even more, despite him, passing away and everything. They're exploitation films, don't get me wrong, but I still enjoy them, and it never brings down the value of Bruce Lee's work. But that being said, though, like, you see actors who try to be like Bruce Lee, and they might get one smidge of it, or one aspect of Bruce Lee correct, and then just totally fail when it comes to everything else. The physicality, the charisma, and there's a certain look that Bruce Lee had that just can't be mimicked. And no matter how good the actors are, how good the martial artists are, or how much makeup, whatever, the editing you do on the cutting room floor, it just doesn't help. And so every time I hear them talk, it's like every 3 to 4 years you hear people bring up, "Hey, we're gonna remake Enter the Dragon." And you take that with a grain of salt because, in a way, you know they're probably never going to remake Enter the Dragon, or at least you hope they don't. But with the state of Hollywood is the way it is today, it's probably now more than likely that they'll probably end up trying to remake it, and it will fail. Because, I mean, how are you going to remake that same story and rely on the actors you have in it? Are you going to have someone who can be as dastardly as Bob Wall was in that film? Can you have someone as imposing as Bolo? Can you have someone who is slyly cool as a henchman as Shikian? Can you have someone as remarkably awesome as Jim Kelly? Or just the debonair of John Saxon, as the gambler who's out of luck on everything. You have so much there that I just don't think you can replicate that and have it all be cohesive and make it work. And then you got Bruce Lee, who's just standing on this mountain. And I think I've heard people say, once you've been on the mountain, why would you want to stand on the hill? And I think it kind of applies to Enter the Dragon, because Enter the Dragon is that mountain, and standing on top of it is Bruce Lee. And anybody who tries to come in and remake Enter the Dragon, no one's going to care as much, or they're immediately going to go into it with negative feelings and they're not going to like it. That's just, I think that's the reality of it. And plus the music, how are you going to be able to capture that the music and everything that the Inner Dragon had. But yeah, I don't know how you would remake Enter the Dragon, and I hope to God they don't. They shouldn't. The only successful films that I've seen that they've remade of Bruce Lee's are like his you know, I don't know. To me, I mean, I think Jet Li and has really been the only one who's with Fist of Legend and everything. I think that's pretty much the only film that I would consider almost on par with Bruce Lee's films and everything. Other than that, I don't feel like anybody else has come close. I think Jet Li was the only actor at the time who came even remotely close to Bruce Lee. Don't get me wrong, I love Donnie Yen. I think Donnie Yen's he's up there and everything. He's like top 5 in my book. But even then, I don't think none one can touch Bruce Lee when it comes to that. And you know, these actors are already up there in age, so you're going to find someone who's around the age of 30, between the age of 30 and 35, 38, who can play Bruce Lee. I mean, unless you make a film where when he's much younger and everything, then I guess you can do that. But the physicality and the charisma, it's a lot to ask for in an actor and everything. And I know I've messed up quite a bit throughout this video with trying to get things out, but I guess I get kind of, you know, I don't get flustered, but I don't understand why you want to remake Enter the Dragon. And I know that Hollywood's pretty much bankrupt and out of ideas. You have to go to some of these independent artists if you're really going to find anything good anymore. Because that's all Hollywood can do now is rehash something old. And what's bad is I don't see why don't they find a film that was sort of good but not great and remake those films. I don't understand it. And those films have a following, a small cult following behind them. They can remake those and expand on them and possibly make them better. And you won't piss off the entire a legion of fans in the process. But no, they want to take these golden films and milk them, in my opinion, and remake them and stuff. It's ridiculous, and it's I think a lot of people, our fans, are getting tired of that with Hollywood and everything. And I think Hollywood's going to have to make a change for something like that. I mean, I've always said, like, there's like a crap load of 50s flicks and of sci-fi movies that I would love to see them remake, or even some films from the 70s. I mean, it's pretty impossible to remake a giallo film, especially when you got Argento and Fulci and everything attached to that genre so heavily. But again, coming back down to martial arts with Enter the Dragon, you can't remake it. I don't think you should. And there's probably somebody out there who will think, yeah, I think you should probably remake this. I think they can. I think you can't. I mean, we do have Ang Lee's biopic, It's Going to Be About, with starring his son. It's going to take place during the making of Enter the Dragon. It's going to be about Bruce Lee and have flashbacks and stuff like that, which I think that's a good idea. That will work. And I'll be more than happy to go see that in theaters and everything. Because I've heard his son has been training for the past 5 years for this role. So when someone's that dedicated just to play this one role in one film, it shows you that their heart is in the right place and that they're motivated. And when someone's motivated like that, it can come across exceptionally well. And Ang Lee is a good director. You can't take that away from him. He is a good director. And I'm pretty sure he'll be visual at that. So I'm all for it. Heck, I like the Dragon, the Bruce Lee story that came out in the 90s and everything. I enjoyed that and was more than happy to, even though they do a lot of things that are out of context with Bruce Lee's story and everything, it's still a fun film to me. So I'm hoping that this film with Ang Lee and what they do will be even better than anything else that's been based on Bruce Lee and showcasing his life and everything. And I hope they do it right. But I think they will. But like I said, this video was all about Enter the Dragon. I hope they don't remake it. I really don't, because I just go back and I rewatch these flicks like all the time. And there's like a new Blu-ray. I do want to get it, but I have the 40th anniversary edition, and I don't see the reason to go and get another edition of Enter the Dragon when I got one that's damn good. So, but maybe later on I'll upgrade to a different version. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, hit that button and subscribe if you haven't already. You can follow me on follow me on Facebook and Instagram under Nightmare County, and also on Instagram, Rando and Ghoul. My next videos, we're going to be leading up to Halloween, so I'm going to try to release a video almost every day for the remainder of this week, and leading up to Halloween, my favorite holiday. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll get into spookier stuff a little bit later on. I want to thank you for watching this video, and like I've said before, don't be a stranger and tune in.